Howdy y'all, and welcome back to the world of Destiny. We are here on Earth this week admiring this picturesque scenery here. You know, all beautiful sights. Just the best you could think of. I'm just enjoying a nice little sip of coffee here while I ponder where my good old friend Xur might be this week. I think, he was on Titan last week. I figured he'd want to come to another alien planet. Maybe one day we'll explore this exotic place known as Earth. But anyways, let's get right onto it. So this week, Xur is going to be in the Winding Cove, this area right here. All you have to do to get here is load up your map and go to the landing cove right down here. Once you land, you should spawn somewhere right about here. And you're just going to run straight this direction. If this public event is here, you could ignore it or maybe help a little. What is shooting me? Oh, I guess maybe that was shooting me while I was flying by. So you're just going to keep going this way. Right up this cliff here. Over all of these rocks. Run past this guy. Oop. Missed that jump up a little. And you can just jump up the cliff. Like if you land right up here and then jump up. Here's your good old friends there. There's also a little cave right here if you for some reason can't make that jump. Just go this way. And the cave exits literally right under him actually. So let's go out here. Yeah, so it's kind of obscured by the tree, but it's just literally right under him. You just jump up on here. Then go up. And you will find yourself your exotic boy right up here. And let's see what he has for us this week. So for your weapon of the week, you have the Graviton Lance. Now, if you played before Forsaken, you already know how good this weapon is. This thing used to be considered a monster in the Crucible, and to some extent still holds that glory. But it has seen, I think, a few nerfs, plus just the current state of pulse rifles and the Crucible meta. Just doesn't lend itself too greatly towards this weapon. But whether you're looking to use it in Crucible or not, it's still pretty solid in PvE because of its cool little perks. So you have Black Hole. The second shot of a burst rips a hole through space and time. Wow, that is very aggressive wording. Or very fanciful? That's not a word. I don't know what word I'm trying to think of. It rips a hole through space and time, doing high damage and recoil with no fall off. So that means no matter what range you're shooting at, the second shot in the burst, which it only shoots 2 bullets per burst, the second bullet is going to have no damage fall off. Now that already is pretty good. Not to mention the first bullet in general isn't going to do much damage, so really you're aiming for that second bullet. And let's move on over to its trait. Its trait is Cosmology. Kills with this weapon cause enemy targets to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track targets. Now this is what really makes it a monster in PvE at least. Because essentially whenever you kill something, it doesn't have to be a headshot, it can just be a normal kill. It spawns these little orbs that just go flying and track to the nearest enemy and normally will kill them. These do quite a bit of damage and are just all around pretty good. You can wipe out an entire horde of enemies just by killing one with this weapon. It's pretty nice. So if you don't already have this weapon, I'd recommend picking it up because it is definitely worth the buy. Now, moving on to hunters, we have the Celestial Nighthawk. Now, this helmet is the helmet for gunslingers. If you're not using Blade Barrage, you're probably going to be using this, at least in PvE. What this helmet does is it takes all of your golden gun shots and puts them into a single shot. And if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't say it here, but it used to say it back in Destiny 1. Instead of doing like just the damage of 3 shots in one, you do 6 times the damage of a normal shot. You're essentially doing 2 supers in 1 shot. That's pretty good. Now, it also has a bit of a new perk. Along with it putting all the shots into 1 shot, it also makes enemies explode whenever you kill them with the golden gunshot, and it grants you super energy back. If I'm not mistaken, if you kill like a high value target or a yellow bar enemy, you get like 33% of your super back. You get a third of your super back if you kill with a golden gunshot. Now, that in itself isn't too amazing, but what it does do is it allows you to actually use your super in strikes instead of just getting your super then holding it until the boss. You can actually use it on lower level enemies like a captain or a knight that's an orange bar or yellow bar, and you shouldn't feel too bad about doing that because you'll get your super back pretty quickly off of it. So essentially they added this perk I think in Forsaken, and it just makes the helmet a lot more usable and more friendly towards using your super a lot while having this helmet equipped. If you don't already have this helmet, I'd recommend picking it up because it's just pretty solid. Now, moving on to Titans, we have the Dune Marchers. Now, besides looking kinda weird and interesting, these legs don't really do all too much, if I'm being honest. What they do is they increase your sprint speed, and while you're sprinting, you build up a static charge. And what the static charge does is the next melee attack you do, that attack will chain lightning towards any other enemies around the person you punched, which is okay, but it really doesn't do all too much damage. I'm not entirely sure if this stacks with shoulder charges. I would imagine it does. So what you might be able to do is do something like a Sunbreaker with the melting point shoulder charge. And that might, if there's like a group of enemies, you'd weaken them with the ability, and then the chain lightning might finish them off. I'm not entirely sure on that because I've never really used them for that. But if you're looking to run faster and maybe chain lightning to people in PvE, it has some use there, but still not that amazing. These are a very niche exotic, and if you like them, then you like them. If you don't, then you probably aren't really going to care to have them. But if you don't have them already, they're obviously worth the buy just to complete your collection. And now moving on to Warlocks, we have the Sanguine Alchemy. These are a set of robes that really, they look cool. They actually look pretty dope, if I'm being honest. But they don't really have that much of a use. Their intrinsic perk is Heightened Senses. While standing in a rift, you grant you and your allies heightened senses. Who would have thought? Basically what this does is it gives you an enhanced radar and allows you to keep your radar while aiming down sights. Now that in itself is okay, But for the same reason that Knucklehead radar doesn't see much use anymore, these already are at a bit of a disadvantage. On top of the enhanced radar, it also tracks nearby powerful enemies. That's not really that amazing. I don't know if that applies to like Guardians and Crucible. I'd have to try it out. I'm not entirely sure though. Again, these are purely a utility exotic, and in the current state of the game, utility and defensive exotics just really don't see much use because they're more offensive exotic cousins are a lot better in pretty much every situation. Again, I'd say if you don't already have them, pick them up just to complete your collection, and that's pretty much it, because really the only thing these things have going for them is that they look pretty cool. But yeah. Anyways, that's been Xur for this week. I've been your host Sci-Fi, and I'll catch y'all next time.